Right now, inside your motorcycle's engine, a problem is quietly destroying your clutch plates, and every mile you ride is making it worse. Wet clutch slip is not a mechanical failure. It is not a worn-out component. It is a chemical reaction, and it has been happening to riders since the day the modern motorcycle was mass-produced. Dealers will tell you the fix costs anywhere from $300 to $900 in parts and labor. What they have never told you, what they have gone out of their way to make sure you never find out, is that a $1 solution has existed since 1971. And the reason it stayed buried is worth every minute of what you are about to hear. The power sports industry generates billions of dollars every single year from service department revenue. Not from selling motorcycles, from keeping you coming back for repairs, fluid changes, and part replacements that, in many cases, are completely unnecessary. Wet clutch slip is one of their most profitable recurring problems. When your clutch starts slipping, that hesitation, that surge, that nauseating feeling of lost power between shifts, the dealership does not want to solve it permanently. Permanently solved problems do not generate repeat service tickets. The average rider who experiences wet clutch slip will spend between $400 and $200 over the lifespan of their bike dealing with the exact same issue over and over again because nobody in that service bay ever told them the truth. You have been robbed, systematically, deliberately, and for decades, but that changes today. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what causes wet clutch slip at the chemical level, why the fix the industry sells you only works temporarily, and what the actual permanent solution is, something you can find for under $1 at any auto parts store or hardware supplier in the country. And stay with me, because I will also show you the one mistake that makes this method fail completely. A mistake that almost every rider makes the first time they try it. And this is where it gets interesting, because this story does not begin in a garage. It begins in a research laboratory in 1971 when a group of engineers working for a major American oil additive company made a discovery that should have changed motorcycle maintenance forever. These were not shade tree mechanics. These were chemists studying friction modifiers, compounds designed to reduce metal-on-metal wear inside engines. What they found, almost by accident, was that a specific class of friction modifier did something completely unexpected when introduced to a wet clutch system. Rather than reducing all friction uniformly, it selectively restored the coefficient of friction between clutch plates and fiber discs to factory specification, without any mechanical disassembly and without replacing a single part. The compound worked by filling microscopic surface irregularities in the clutch material, irregularities caused not by age or mileage, but by a specific type of oil contamination that conventional motorcycle oils actually accelerate over time. The discovery was documented. It was tested. And then, quietly, it disappeared. The engineers who worked on it moved on. The findings were absorbed into internal company records. And the power sports industry, which had just begun its most explosive decade of growth in history, never once acknowledged that the problem their customers were paying hundreds of dollars to fix could be resolved for almost nothing. What they didn't want you to realize is that the entire clutch replacement cycle, the diagnosis fees, the labor hours, the OEM parts markups, was built on the foundation of a problem that was already solved before most of the bikes causing it were even manufactured. Stay with me, because the next part changes everything. What I'm about to show you is the part the industry spent decades making sure you'd never find out. The actual name of the compound, what it does at the molecular level, and exactly how you apply it. Because if you do this wrong, you will make the slipping worse, not better. The solution is ZDDP, zinc dialkyl-dithiophosphate. It sounds complicated, but the mechanism is almost elegant in its simplicity. When a wet clutch begins to slip, the cause in the overwhelming majority of cases is not worn plates. It is oil film breakdown between the clutch surfaces, combined with glazing, a smooth, almost polished condition that develops on the friction material when the wrong lubricant chemistry has been present for extended periods. Modern motorcycle oils, including many oils specifically marketed for wet clutch applications, contain friction modifiers that were originally engineered for car engines. In a car engine, those modifiers do their job perfectly. In a wet clutch motorcycle, they coat the clutch fiber discs with a thin, invisible layer of chemistry that progressively reduces grip. Every time your clutch engages, that coating transfers. Over hundreds of miles, the surface loses its texture at a microscopic level. The clutch begins to slip, and your dealer hands you a repair estimate. ZDDP works because it does the opposite. It is an anti-wear compound that, at operating temperature, forms a protective film on metal surfaces. But critically, it does not coat or contaminate friction material the way modern friction modifiers do. It restores the interface between the clutch pack components, rather than compromising it. This is the part that took researchers decades to figure out, and it is the reason the fix costs almost nothing. If you have ridden more than 1,000 miles on the wrong oil, do yourself a favor and save this information somewhere you will not lose it. This is the kind of knowledge that belongs in every rider's toolkit, not just yours. Now let's walk through exactly how you use this. Step 1. Confirm the actual problem. Before you add anything to your engine, you need to verify the slip is clutch related and not a cable adjustment issue or a mechanical failure. Pull in the clutch lever fully and try to engage first gear with the bike on the center stand. If the wheel rotates under load with the clutch fully disengaged, you have a dragging issue, not a slipping issue. And this method is not for that. Slipping presents differently. The engine revs freely. Power does not transfer to the rear wheel proportionally, and you feel it most under hard acceleration or at highway speeds when you roll on aggressively. That sensation, revs climbing, speed not following, that is slip. Confirm it before you proceed. Step 2. Drain your current oil completely. Do not add ZDDP to degraded or contaminated oil. The entire effectiveness of this method depends on introducing the compound into fresh, clean oil with the correct base viscosity for your engine. Check your owner's manual for the specified weight. Drain the old oil warm, not cold. Warm oil carries more suspended contamination out with it. Replace the drain plug and filter if you are due for one. Step 3. Identify your ZDDP source. Here is where most people overcomplicate this. You do not need an exotic additive product marketed specifically to motorcycles. Pure ZDDP additive concentrate is available under several brand names. Lucas Oil Stabilizer contains it, Rislone Engine Treatment contains it, and dedicated ZDDP additives like ZDD Plus are sold online for under $1 per dose when purchased in the appropriate quantity. What you are looking for on the label is a zinc content between 1,000 and 1,400 parts per million in the finished oil mixture. Do not exceed this. More is not better. Excessive zinc at high concentrations can actually compromise the friction material you're trying to restore. This is the warning most people never hear, and it is the mistake that turns a cheap fix into an expensive one. Measure carefully. Step 4. Add the concentrate to your fresh oil before filling. Do not pour it in after. Mix it in the container, or pour both into the fill port together so they blend before reaching the clutch pack. Fill to the correct level on your sight glass or dipstick, not over, not under. Step 5. Ride the bike through a full heat cycle before making any judgment. Take it out for 20 minutes of mixed riding. Some stop and go, some highway. Let the engine reach full operating temperature twice. The ZDDP needs heat to activate its protective film mechanism. Do not test the clutch aggressively on the first ride. Let the chemistry work. Most people experience noticeable improvement within the first 50 miles. Some feel it within 10. Before I wrap up, there is one more thing about this solution that almost nobody talks about, and it may actually be the most valuable part of everything in this video. ZDDP does not just address clutch slip. Because it reduces metal-on-metal wear throughout the entire engine, riders who add it consistently to their oil change intervals report measurable reductions in top-end wear, cam chain noise, and overall engine temperature under sustained load. The clutch fix is real and it is immediate, but what you're actually doing when you add ZDDP correctly is extending the functional life of every moving metal surface inside your engine simultaneously. Riders who have used this method consistently for 2 or more oil change cycles have reported engines that feel tighter, shift more cleanly, and run quieter than they did at half their current mileage. That is not a coincidence. That is chemistry doing what the industry decided was not profitable enough to tell you about. Now consider what you have been paying. A standard wet clutch replacement at a dealership, parts and labor, genuine OEM components, runs between $350 and $950 depending on the make and model. Add diagnostic fees if they charge them. Add the oil change you paid for before they even opened the engine. For riders who have been through this cycle 2 or 3 times on the same bike, we are talking about real money, thousands in some cases. Now compare that to a bottle of ZDDP concentrate that costs between $8 and $15. Used at roughly 1 dose per oil change interval, with each dose costing less than $1 when you do the math. The results are not comparable in cost. They are, in many documented cases, comparable in outcome. And in some cases, the ZDDP method outperforms a mechanical clutch replacement because it addresses the root chemical cause rather than simply swapping components that will go through the same degradation cycle all over again on the same contaminated oil chemistry. The before and after is not subtle. Riders describe the difference as the clutch feeling new again. Not improved, not better. New. That snap of engagement, that clean connection between throttle and rear wheel, the absence of that sick, slipping sensation under hard acceleration. It comes back, and it costs almost nothing. Here is what you need to understand before you put this video down. Wet clutch slip, treated with ZDDP and fresh oil, is one of the cheapest fixes in motorcycling. But the reason this matters beyond your clutch, the reason this story is bigger than one component on one bike, is that the same principle applies to nearly every friction surface in your drivetrain. And there's a second problem, far more expensive than clutch slip, that operates on exactly the same chemical mechanism, costs 5 to 10 times more to repair at a dealership, and has exactly the same category of suppressed solution sitting quietly in plain sight. Most riders will encounter it within the next 20,000 miles. Some of you are already experiencing the early signs right now and have no idea what you are looking at. The oil industry and the power sports service sector have both had good reason to make sure that connection was never clearly explained. That is a story for the next video. But ask yourself this. If they buried a $1 clutch fix for 50 years, what else have they been sitting on?